Hi everyone, Mark Cabanis here for our Jubilate Music Group product focus video. And in today's focus is a new cantata by Lloyd Larsen, Love is Born, celebrating the mystery and wonder of Christmas.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate the invitation and grateful to be here.
Absolutely, Lloyd. It's always great to see you all the way there up in Minneapolis and me down here in Nashville. You've been writing some cantatas for several years now, and it always amazes me how you and some of your colleagues come up with a fresh approach for the Christmas story. It's the same story, the greatest story ever told, we know, but it's still you have to come up with some kind of approach and that's fresh that makes people get excited about spending the time on it once again, other than just your excellent arranging and composing. The subtitle of Love is Born is Celebrating the Mystery and Wonder of Christmas. Talk about that and how this all came about.
Well, I suppose that part of it goes back to even my experience as a father and as a grandfather at this stage in my life, where you have this sense of anticipation for what Christmas is going to be like, and you see it through the eyes of your children and your grandchildren. And I hearken back to the Old Testament prophets who promised in the words of God that the Messiah would come, that this would be a transformational experience for God's chosen people, Israel. And there was a lot of anticipation, excitement, but mystery, uncertainty of what that would look like and what that would be like. And then when Jesus did ultimately come as a fulfillment to those prophecies, there was again this sense of amazement and wonder as shepherds and later magi and all who heard the story from the shepherds and from others were experiencing this sense of wonder, the sense of joy, the sense of fulfillment to the anticipation and the mystery that was still all part of it. So I think that's what really got my mind thinking about where this was going to head, as I saw Christmas being experienced through the eyes of my children, my grandchildren, and then I draw the correlation in my own thinking, in my own mind, to the people who were firsthand witnesses to this whole experience. So anyhow, that I think that was the catalyst for where this was going to go, at least initially.
Absolutely. And you have it sectioned off in a way, Lloyd, where it can be presented using the four traditional themes of Advent. Now, it's not an Advent cantata, of course, per se, but we know Advent is always a part of the Christmas experience each year. Talk about that aspect of the cantata.
Yeah, the four traditional themes that many of us observe in our own worship experiences in our churches, the themes of hope, of peace, of joy, of love. And as I thought through those particular themes, there's kind of a linear thought process in my own mind. I think I envisioned the sense of hope, the sense of peace, of really being kind of the yearning, the anticipation, the looking forward through the eyes of the Old Testament prophecies in particular. And then the themes of joy and love become really more the consummation of the story, the fulfillment of those prophecies. And so that's what I use as a basic structure or outline, if you will, for this particular project, Love is Born. So each of these themes have kind of a small part of telling the story, a combination of music and narration. And I suppose I put my pragmatic, practical hat on as a practicing church musician over many years at this point. And so this is a kind of project that can be done in its entirety where it covers those four themes, or it can be done with each of those themes being the focus for the 4 Sundays of Advent. So on Advent 1, you can actually do the section that is hope. Advent 2, the section that is peace, and so on. And so it becomes a smaller segment of perhaps the worship experience with both choir, narration, and all of that telling the story. And then you come to the last couple of themes, the joy theme, the peace theme, sorry, the love theme at the end. And so it can be done in smaller segments, or it can be done as an entire work. I remember years ago in one of the churches where I was serving, we did something similar to this from a thematic standpoint. And we did each of the 4 segments during the 4 Sundays of Advent. And then we came back on Christmas Eve and did the entire work. And it wound up being an opportunity for the choir to build in terms of their confidence and understanding of the work. And then it also served from a practical standpoint as kind of a promotion or advertisement ahead of time for what was going to happen on Christmas Eve. And quite frankly, it was one of the more successful experiences I ever had as a minister of music in Christmas Eve, as we anticipated and looked forward to that moment on Christmas Eve when we bring all these components together, music that we had rehearsed and music that we had actually sung in our worship experiences over those 4 Sundays of Advent. So that's the architecture behind this particular project, this particular work. And even as you look at the titles, you see them underscoring the respective themes: A Carillon of Hope, Come Hope of Every Longing Heart, Proclaim God's Peace, Peace Will Come. Angels are singing, heaven is ringing, as we get into the theme of joy. How great our joy. Love is born tonight, and celebrating the wonder of God's love. Those are all sample titles of the music that's included. And the music, I might add, is a combination of new material, but also very familiar material, familiar carols. I find when I do these kinds of projects, weaving those familiar melodies that are essentially the backdrop to our Advent Christmas seasons is vital. It just helps from a congregational standpoint, from a worshiping standpoint, from a choral presentation standpoint. So you'll find familiar melodies that are scattered throughout, starting with the very opening piece, A Carillon of Hope, which has the iconic strains from the Carol of the Bells Ukrainian melody that we're all familiar with, and that really serves as a ubiquitous kind of melody behind all that happens during the Christmas season. So anyhow, that's kind of a summary anyhow of where this is going. Love is Born.
Lloyd, fantastic, beautiful. You know, I was in the studio, produced it, and so it was. And I'll tell you, I was on a trip, a road trip last weekend, and listened to the entire cantata again. It's always fun to step back after having hovered over it so closely, as the publisher and the producer, and then 6 weeks later or whatever, 8 weeks later. You hear it again, afresh when you're approving something or listening to something, and to hear it with fresh ears, I just, as just a listener, I was just blown away by it. So I'm so excited about it. We're so thrilled to be the publisher of Love is Born, Lloyd. It's always a pleasure to work with you, of course. And I will say one more quick thing, and that is The Angels Are Singing, Heaven is Ringing is also released this year from us at Jubilate Music Group as a single anthem for children only. So there's a children only version of that anthem. And then optionally, children can participate in this cantata as well. So if you do the children's anthem like 2 or 3 weeks before, maybe on a Sunday of Advent, and then later you come, then they've already learned it, they come back and sing with the adults in the cantata moment. What a great multi-generational moment that can be. I think that was great the way that worked out, Lloyd.
Yeah, and that's important to me too. I think these kinds of projects, if you have the opportunity to make them an intergenerational experience, is that's just icing on the cake. And one other just footnote to this too, Mark, is there's a place at the end which becomes kind of the grand exclamation to the whole work. The congregation is invited to sing on the couple of familiar verses from Joy to the World. Again, it's where we get to lift our collective voices in celebration to the gift of God's love to us.
Absolutely. Beautifully said as always, Lloyd. And so thank you again for being here on this product focus video for us, and so excited about Love is Born.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure, and I'm grateful for your constant support, and look forward to continue to partner together as we move forward.
Absolutely, Lloyd. Thanks again. And thank you for tuning in to this Jubilate Music Group Product Focus.